either a plastic or hard copy for settled status. Would he take account of the very large amount of work done by your Lordship's European Affairs Committee, which 3 times recommended that it should be possible for plastic or hard copy to be made available, particularly given the problems of very elderly and infirm people?
I'm grateful to the Noble Lord for that contribution, and I hope I've indicated those are issues which we're examining, and he's certainly given me some weekend reading for the future. Thank you.
Third oral question, Lord Fowkes of Cumnock.
Beg leave to ask the question standing in my name, and in doing so, can I welcome my noble friend who was born in Edinburgh and who is answering for the first time on behalf of the government a question on Scotland.
I thank my noble friend for his very generous comments. Let's hope I live up to them. My Lords, this government is committed to resetting relationships with the Scottish Government. Ministers across departments have been meeting to discuss a broad range of issues with their counterparts from the Scottish Government, and ministerial engagement is underpinned by regular engagement at official level. Intergovernmental relations is led by from the top by the Prime Minister, who chaired the inaugural Council of the Nations and Regions on the 11th of October. The Council will reconvene in the spring.
Well, that's a helpful answer, but the Minister knows that while justice is devolved, there is great concern here in the rest of the United Kingdom about the fact that Operation Branchform, which is dealing with very serious matters of fraud, of embezzlement and of signature copying, has taken over 3 years now. It's in no one's interest that it should drag on and on and on. So if Police Scotland ask us to provide specialist help from the National Crime Agency and the Serious Fraud Office, can we give them that help?
I thank the Noble Lord for his question. I am of course aware of the Police Scotland investigation into the Scottish National Party. However, it would not be appropriate for me to comment on an investigation that is currently ongoing, and operational decisions are a matter for Police Scotland. Of course, if they were to make such requests, I'm sure that every agency would wish to assist.
The noble lady, 2 questions. Can she tell the House, please, when Sue Gray will start work in her new role as envoy to the regions and nations?
We are delighted that the Council for Nations and Regions is now up and running and will be meeting again in the spring. Sue Gray has been appointed as the envoy, but obviously has had a busy 2 years while she got ready for ensuring that the Labour Party won the general election, so is taking a holiday. She will be appointed in due course, and I will report into the House.
My Lords, is the noble lady aware that the Scottish Government set up a review by the former Chief Executive of the Scottish Law Commission to look into the dual role of the Lord Advocate, firstly as the head of the prosecution service in Scotland, and secondly as advisor to the Scottish Government. If that review suggests that there should be a division of these responsibilities, and that will require legislation in this Parliament, would His Majesty's Government be willing to facilitate that should the Scottish Parliament ask?
We look forward to the outcome of the review, and will respond in due course in the usual manner.
In the debate on the humble address, was my noble friend, the Minister, excited and interested to learn that the SNP Scottish Government, after considerable effort and research, have managed to identify and officially classify 24 different genders. Can I ask her if Her Majesty's Government, His Majesty's Government, has any intention of replicating that research?
My Lords, I'm always interested in what the SNP are doing in Scotland. At this point, I'm not aware of any efforts by UK Government to repeat this research.
My Lords, in the debate on the humble address, I asked the Minister about the future of the Prime Ministerial First Minister Council in relation to the setting up of the new Council of Nations and Regions. I didn't actually receive a very satisfactory answer. In opposition, the Government's position was that both councils would continue to exist. Can I ask if that's still the Government's position, and when the next meeting of the Prime Ministerial First Minister Council will take place?
The new Prime Minister met with the Scottish First Minister the first weekend after the general election. It was the Prime Minister's first official meeting. We've also had the Council of Nations and Regions, which met only this month, which is an extraordinary thing and demonstrates devolution in action. In terms of future engagement, I, with the greatest of respect, find it extraordinary given that those meetings didn't, although agreed to in 2022, had not happened under the last government in 23 and had not happened in the first 6 months of 24. We are reviewing when that meeting will next happen, but at the moment, both the Council of Europe and both the Council of Nations and Regions and the intergovernment relations will continue to in parallel.
My Lords.
System of quarterly reports on intergovernmental relations. The last of those reports was actually delivered in December last year, which is quite a lot more than a quarter ago. I wonder if the noble lady, the Minister, could tell us whether the system is still in operation, and if it is, whether it has reverted to the Cabinet Office, because it had moved from the Cabinet Office to what was then the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities.
We are re-establishing the scheme and data is currently being compiled. I will have to revert to the noble lord on whether it has reverted to the Cabinet Office.
My Lords, there have been quite a few intergovernmental different units set up recently. Of course, you'll be aware of the East-West Council, which was set up under the Safeguarding the Union command paper back earlier this year. One of those meetings has taken place. Can I ask the noble lady, the Minister, if the government values the East-West Council and the bringing together of the different devolved administrations with Westminster, and if so, what will be the frequency of the meetings of the East-West Council?
I thank the noble lady for her question. She'll be aware we've got a future question on the Safeguarding the Union paper and on how that will be and that will be when we will formally update. But with regards, of course, we celebrate bringing together all of those people who run our nation, run the United Kingdom, both the nations and regions, which is why the Council of Nations and Regions was convened. It held its first meeting in Scotland. The First and Deputy First Ministers of Northern Ireland were present, and as were the mayors and those that lead the combined authorities. It is devolution in action, with everyone responsible for delivering for the people of the United Kingdom coming together to make sure that this works. I will revert to you about when the next meeting of the East-West Council follows.
The position... detailed bills being considered by both houses at the present time, which do have implications for people and citizens across the UK. I was thinking of such measures as the water bill, where there are waterways which adjoin the different nations of the UK, such as the River Tweed between Northumberland and Scotland. Can the Minister assure me that the sort of detailed measures of practical decisions that we need to take in conjunction with the devolved authorities are being considered in an orderly and detailed way?
I thank the noble lady for her question, and it is fundamental to ensure that legislation in this House and in the other place considers its wider impact, which is why ministers have met with their Scottish counterparts over 20 times in the last month to discuss each part of our legislative agenda.
One of the many successes of the Scotland Office in the previous government was to build deep relationships with 32 local authorities in Scotland, and of course I was greatly assisted by $3 billion of Treasury funding, whether it was the Community Ownership Fund, the Levelling Up Fund, the City Deals, the Town Fund. And we know it was successful because the 32 local authorities told me personally that they were having better interaction from the UK government than they actually did from the Scottish government, and that includes SNP-led councils. My friends in Argyll and Bute are telling me that they're concerned the £70 million Rural Growth Fund, which is committed, is on hold pending the budget coming up. Can the noble lady, the Minister, confirm that this government is committed to strengthening the Union and to continue funding direct from UK Treasury to 32 local authorities in Scotland?
This government is, of course, committed to doing everything we will to secure the Union. Of course, the budget is only 6 days away, so the noble lord will have to wait for the Chancellor of the Exchequer for an update on expenditure.
My Lords, the position of the Secretary of State for Scotland was introduced more than 100 years before the Scottish Parliament was established and has not been sufficiently considered since then.
Can I ask the Minister if there are any plans to review the role?
No, there are not.
My Lords, earlier on in this question, the noble lady, the Minister, may have misspoken to announce in her answer to my noble friend's question when she said that Sue Gray had been appointed as an envoy and that she would be appointed as an envoy. Could the noble lady, the Minister, confirm which is the case, and will she be at the next meeting of the Council of the Regions?
I'm sorry if I misled the House. That was not my intention. Sue Gray has been appointed. I am not sure of her start date. I am not in charge of HR for the government.
My Lords, is it a good moment to offer our thanks and support for Sir Chris Hoy, a great Scotsman who has worn the Union Jack around his shoulders in so many places around the world for so many years. He's inspired an entire generation of young people. He's brought joy to elderly people in their chairs, even on red benches. And now he faces a new challenge, which he is doing so with extraordinary courage, it would seem. So may we express our thanks for his inspiration and hope that the inspiration and joy that he has brought to us will be returned to him in his way ahead.
My father has recently just completed cancer treatment. I am in awe of those people who are experiencing exactly what Chris Hoy is doing. He will be an inspiration, as actually have members of the royal family in recent days, for everything, for everybody who is facing an incredible uphill battle. And I send my thoughts and prayers to his family at this